What's up guys, it's Andy, and today we are going to be going out to the barn for a riding lesson vlog, and we also are going to do kind of a little bit of an update. So from my last video, you would have seen our very first lesson together, and like everything was good until he refused to move forward anymore. So after that lesson, I rode him the next day, and I rode with a dressage whip that Kelly used to kind of drive him forward, and he was really receptive to it. He still did stop. However, I made him do forward transitions at every point that he stopped within the arena from the day before. So I took that as a win. We had a handful of rides. We had a really great ride outside one day where we did all these trot poles, and he cantered one lap each way beautifully. I'm trying not to do too much canter because he's weak and I don't want to mess up his hind end while we're trying to slowly bring him back into work. And so we do a lot of transitions and short amounts of cantering, but the transitions are more important because that can help build up his hind end. And then everything was going like super great. Like I said, only a handful of rides since then, maybe 5. And I went out on Labor Day because I assumed there would be no lessons, and me and my friend Alicia were riding. And we were taking turns cantering. And I mean, you kind of know this a little bit if you saw my cry for help on TikTok, which you should follow me. This is my user. So Alicia went first, and then I went, and he cantered to the right beautifully. No problems. There was a lesson with little ponies going on because my trainer decided to offer that for a lesson she had canceled the week before. And I then waited for Alicia to go the other direction. I turned him around, went to go the other direction. He was kind of being a little sticky, but not bad. And he picked up the canter, and you know, we go down the long side, come around the corner, and we're coming down the side that connects to the other part of the arena where the little kids were having their pony, lesson. And mid canter, I kind of feel him like sucking back a little bit, so I spur him forward so that he keeps moving because I want to get one lap through the corner. And I honestly don't even know the sequence of events. I believe what happened is we were cantering along and a pony was coming by, and he wanted to stop and be with the pony or stop and be in the middle of the arena with Alicia and her horse Ivy. And he just dead stopped and reared 3 times, and not like little jumpy ones, but like this kind of rearing. And luckily I had my sun visor on, because otherwise I probably would have had a broken nose. He bent it straight in half. And by the 3rd one, I realized like, oh my gosh, like I don't have my stirrups. I'm coming off. All I'm doing is squeezing right now, which is making him rear even more. So I emergency dismounted to the side, landed on my feet, still had a hold of him. And I just immediately gave him a huge crop to the side flank. I'm like, abso-freaking-lutely not. Once I calmed myself and made sure that I was fine and uninjured, I took him back to the mounting block, got back on. We did walk trot. I did make him do one more canter transition just so he knew that he could not do that. But he was starting to act sticky again. So after I made a circle, I just pulled him back to trot, and we just did trot work so that we could end on a good note. But I was kind of not terrified, but I mean, this has never happened to me before. I've never sat a rear before, and my trainer was turned around. She missed it. She didn't see what happened. I'm like, really? So after that, I gave him a day off, and then I'm finding like he doesn't like to work multiple days in a row, and I want to keep him happy. And with my work schedule right now, like it's not conducive for me to ride multiple days in a row. So I try to mix in just some grooming days and like just groundwork days, or days he can just go run in the arena and be crazy. And I'm trying to keep him not bored, right? He's not like arena sour. It's not like he won't go to the arena. He goes in, and it's kind of Jekyll and Hyde, because he starts really excited and nice and moving forward, and his ears are up. And then after we canter, he's just kind of like, okay, I'm done. And I don't know if like his previous home, he wasn't going to be a good sale prospect. They didn't plan on keeping him. So they only rode him 3 days a week. And I'm sure it was, they got on, they walked, they trotted, they walked, they cantered, they walked, and done. And I think he's like so into that routine that anything outside of that, he has a hissy fit, which is his rearing. He's never offered a buck, or even, I scared him one day. We were riding in the indoor and I had the dressage whip and it dragged along the wall and clipped one of the letters and it made a noise and he just like boom, sprawled. But that was it. That was it for a spook. He didn't take off. He wasn't, and then he like went right back to work. So he's like really good in all of those aspects. So I gave him a day off after the rearing, came back. I just did walk trot because I was nervous. Like I got right back on when I, emergency dismounted. I wouldn't say I fell. And then I, got right back on. So he knew he couldn't do that. And I knew like every time you come off, you have to get right back on. But I was like kind of hesitant because now I was out here and I was riding alone. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm kind of afraid to canter because I don't want to like have something bad happen. So we just did walk trot the first day. Then I gave him another day off. Then I came back out and the next ride we did just canter transitions. Then he had another day off. And then I came out and we just had a ride. I think this would have been Wednesday then, that we actually cantered a lap both ways in the indoor, granted, because at night the mosquitoes have been really bad, so he like refuses to go outside. And we even cantered a pole. So I'm kind of excited. Kelly, the assistant trainer, actually jumped him on Tuesday. So that was exciting. I guess they did X's, verticals, and then our like wooden brick boxes. And that my actual trainer who was watching the assistant trainer said he's got a really nice jump and a really nice forward movement to the jump. Once he like sees it and he locks on, it's very like he wants to do it, which is so good because people have been telling me like, make him a pasture pet, he's dangerous, don't waste your time, make him a driving horse, sell him as a trail horse, ride him Western. Like I ride at a hunter jumper barn, like we don't have Western saddles, we don't have trails, we have fields we can ride in, but at this point in time, I don't really trust him to have us go out by ourselves just to ride around in a field. And I'm glad that he actually likes jumping. So, okay, now we're here, right? I went out last night just to groom him, take care of him. So he knew that not every time I come out is a ride. So today we have a lesson and I'm hoping it all goes well so that we can jump because I really want to jump him, but I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit afraid. It's just going to take some time for him to trust me and for me to gain his trust back because he's not proven that he can be consistent. He did have a massage, he had MagnaWave, and he had chiropractor. And the chiropractor was so impressed. So unfortunately, he gets really stressed out in the pasture, which I think is funny because he literally lived outside 24/7. But maybe the bugs are worse here. I don't know. I don't know what it's like in West Virginia. And so he paces. It's not like annoying or anything. He will stop to eat and drink. He doesn't just pace all day, but he does a significant amount of walking, and that has really improved his hind end. So if you don't think walking is a valuable pace to work at, you would be mistaken. So he has built significant muscle that almost hides his hip deformity. When you touch his hip, you can see where, the left hip is tilted higher. However, the muscling around it's actually making it look relatively symmetrical. She says he looks about 90% fixed. He really enjoyed his chiropractic adjustment. If you want to see clips from that, go to my TikTok because I have both of his sessions up on TikTok. So now that I'm done rambling with this update, let's go ahead and go out to the barn. Fingers crossed for a good ride.
the bend is not to the direction. There, that's better. That's better. Now go. And our next step is to hit him with that crab. And try trotting from there. Use your voice. Use your voice. There you go. Raise your hand. Raise your there. Good. Now I want you to relax your inside hand a little bit.
I'm so scared because my outside, like,
I just kick. Just kick like crazy. Just don't go the direction that he wants to go. So that you have to take him in. Yeah. The other option is, or one option for this lesson is for me to go get the lunge whip, which I know you don't want me to do. In circles, he'll appreciate and benefit from out in that and then you'll graduate. You should ride him out there in that area and try to build up to it. So, okay, when you did trot all the way around up here, walk a second, and then ask him sit up, raise your hands, trot forward. Yeah. More. There you go. And now you're gonna walk, shape it out. I picked the hardest corner probably. Hand up. Yeah. Now let him go. That's too slow. There you go. Now soften the hands. Go forward. Sit up. You could ask you. Go. Trot forward. Go get me a whip. There's and I'm pulling they can't rear if their head is turned.
yeah,
So you get better at it.
yeah.
And you're like, right. And then forward, you know. Soften your hand a little bit though. Yeah, it's okay that it's raised, but just soften it. Good. Good job. Now turn your head. Lovely. Keep those hands soft so he feels like he can go forward. You got it. We're going to go past the sticky spot, then you can walk and reward him, okay?
Okay.
Past the same spot where you acted up because horses are so predictable. They always try things in the same spot. There you go. Yes, good boy. Now you can walk and pet him. Soft hands, right away. Don't grab his mouth, right away. It's soft and forward. Yep. Lift your body a little bit. Keep letting him go forward with your hands. Go forward. Good.
There was a bee by his eye.
Well, I don't care. You cluck and go forward. It was right at our spot, so that's not a good spot to be worried about a bee. Let's get past our sticky spot again. Stay tall. Don't clutch on your reins and let him go forward. And then find a good spot to walk and reward. Nice and straight.
Okay, so I did not get to do a lesson reflection yesterday because I had to come home and change and shower and do all that good fun stuff because Casey and I went to Wine and Harvest Festival yesterday, which is like a autumnal seasonal type festival that we have where we live. And so I didn't really have any time, and then I was gonna film it last night after I got back because I had hair and makeup done and whatever. And then the night just kind of got away from me, so we didn't come back until after 5 o'clock. I put away all the stuff that I bought, and then Paul and I actually had a date night at a drive-in that was close by. So I totally forgot to film my lesson reflection, which is part of my 2021 resolutions and goals. So here I am. Obviously, things didn't go perfect. But my gratitude and my glass half full and lessons learned is that Gideon is going to be a horse that's really going to teach me to ride the horse I have today and not the horse I had yesterday. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I've had from my lesson yesterday. And then, we did our first jumps. So although today my left side, my arm and my face and my left side of my jaw, where he smacked me pretty good with his neck when he reared, they're pretty sore, but we ended yesterday by jumping. And let me tell you guys, I know he wants to jump. He sees the jump and he locks onto it, and he doesn't speed up like a jumper, and he's not particularly careful with his feet, as you would have seen and heard from him clipping all of the rails, but he just feels like he sees it and he's like, oh yeah, jump, and it just does it. And even when we had horrible distances, because like I said, this was our first time jumping, I have not had any practice with extending and collecting his stride. So, these were just low jumps for us to get a feel for one another, and he took every single distance. Now, that can be a bad thing because I would rather have a horse that would chip than take a long distance for safety reasons. Obviously, we had that one jump that was really long that he had to basically Superman himself over, and I don't like that. So I, as a rider, have to get better pretty quickly here about how to adjust him for jumping. So I'm very excited on that aspect. My trainer really thinks it's mostly behavioral because he's had 3 training rides, 1 with my trainer and 2 with the assistant trainer, while my trainer actually watched her, and he never even close tried to do that with them. So I don't know if it's because he got me off the first time, and even though I cropped him really hard from the ground and got right back on, he may have thought that he's capable of doing that now. So I stayed on this time, and this is why I actually create these YouTube videos. I do the talking part, but I had it on camera and I was able to send that to my trainer for us to analyze. Okay, where did the problem start? What was I doing during that time? Did it make it better or worse? So kind of looking at that clip in slow-mo, the big thing I learned was that I'm too worried about my reins. I'm trying to gather them in case he tucks his head, and I'm actually making contact with his mouth when I ask for the canter. And so the goal right now is just forward. So I'm pushing him into a long canter. I don't care about collection, and I'm not touching his face except for the occasional bump if he tries to tuck his head to avoid contact, because there is no contact. So there's no reason for him to be doing that. I'm letting him go on a loose head. There was also a lot going on. So there was a lesson before us. All he wanted to do was stand by the other horses because he's just so desperate for interaction. So he just wants to stand in the middle. So it was really hard for me to do my flat work when the other people were standing. And then they left the arena and went on a little ride around the property, which he was really upset that he couldn't go with them. So he's just very herd bound to these horses that aren't his herd. Yesterday, we had a lot of situations where we discuss when he won't move forward and he's moving sideways, it's not that he wants to go that direction. He actually wants to go the other direction. So even though he's already moving, mostly to the left is where we had the problem. He's already moving left. So we pull the head really tight and kick to engage those hindquarters to move around. The problem is he doesn't really respond to kicking even with spurs. So I can turn his head, but me disengaging that hind end doesn't really work like 50% of the time. So that's a little bit tricky. We're trying to get that figured out. We have determined what bit we're going to ride him in. It's a French link rubber D-ring snaffle. That is pretty similar what he came from. They were using metal. He seems to like the rubber better. It's really thin. He does not like a thick bit. He will chew on it and chew on it. And he seems to like having the double jointed, some sort of a lozenge or middle piece, because he kind of plays with it a little bit. He did not like the single jointed bits that we had. He was kind of abrasive to them. So I think this is a pretty light, easy option that will allow for mistakes of my hand as I'm learning to ride him, but it's also not, too soft that he's just gonna be a jerk about it. And I got a thin line half pad. I have a second one coming. Rip my credit card. Because I got a large based on my saddle size, and it's just way too big. You may have seen in the video, it goes past my saddle pad. There's definitely enough room. I don't know why it said an 18-inch saddle needed a size large. It definitely does not. Maybe if you have a 20-inch or like a custom saddle, but the large was just too big. So I'm getting a small to see if it fits. I just don't want the back of the saddle to be sitting on the seam of the half pad because I don't want that to create an unnecessary pressure point. So I have to be careful about that. Other than that, the rest of the day, it was fine. He snuggled with Paul while we were grooming, and he got a carrot when he went back outside, and he was pretty good when he went back out. So everything else ended really well. I have another lesson next weekend. I'm not sure because we're getting into the fall kind of deer camp hunting season, so I'm not really sure what Paul's going to be able to film. And also I find I'm just a little more anxious when he comes to film and when it's during a lesson, and I'm really trying to work on my riding anxiety right now. So I'm not really sure what the future holds for videos, but hopefully there will be more lesson videos. And I'm really glad I have this footage because I would love to see where we're at a year from now, 2 years from now. I said I would give him at least a solid year before I made any decisions about whether or not I was considering selling him or not. So I'm not even going to talk about it now because we're not at that point. He has until next August I'm going to give him because we didn't really ride much the first 2 months, or at all, I should say. We didn't ride at all. And we'll just kind of see where he comes. I'm thinking of putting him in full training with my trainer for maybe a month or two just to kind of like get him back on track. That's only if my paycheck allows me to, because between buying things for him and then we've got a new house and it's just been really crazy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford it. It's basically like $1,000 a month, but I don't have to pay for lessons and I get like 10 activities. So it includes board and then 10 activities. I won't have to pay for a fly mask for him. So that saves me $15, and doing 10 activities is basically for an additional $200. I pay $200 for 4 lessons. So for 8 lessons, it would be $400 on top of board. And I really want him to get a lot of trainer time. Those also are the same as lessons. So really, if I just pay the training board, I actually get 2 additional activities, whether that be training rides or a lesson that I'm technically not having to pay out of pocket for. So it's like a discounted rate. So it's something I'm considering. He's 6. I don't want him to be ridden more than 3 or 4 days a week because 1, he just doesn't seem to enjoy it. 2, I want days where I can go out there and he associates me with good things, not always riding. I want to have opportunities to lunge him, take him out to the grass and lunge him or ride him, just have some fun days, grooming days. So we'll have to see how that works out. I have to talk to my trainer about that. Otherwise, everything with him is going really well. So I guess I'm going to stop babbling for the second half of this video, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.